Hello, I'm Taylor Hardaway, and this is Taylor's Rabbit Food Reviews. Today I'm making pad thai, vegan of course, and I'm using Isa Does It, as I do pretty often, as kind of a template. It's kind of a pretty simple version and good. So the first thing I always do is I go ahead and get the noodles going. You can do this later, but you might forget, and it doesn't matter if they're not like fresh hot because you're going to heat everything up at the end anyways. So I go ahead and get that going. I go ahead and get that going, and I'll start on the tofu because that's the first thing that I'm going to do. You have to get all the water out, which is kind of tough, but you do what you can. You're never going to get it all out. There's tofu presses and things like that. I just use paper towels, and I kind of have to use a lot, but it's just how it is. So yeah, it takes a lot, and I didn't get all of it out there, but that's okay. Okay, so I just cut it into blocks. And a lot of time I do all my chopping ahead of time just so I don't get in a rush, but on this one you saute the tofu, then the carrots, or then the broccoli, then the carrot. So you don't really get in a rush like that, so it's okay. So I do that, like that. There you go. The more water they have, the longer it's going to take to cook, but that's okay. And then I'll go ahead and put the noodles in. I got the Thai Kitchen. These were only like $3 or $4, I think, and it's 14 ounces. So this recipe calls for 8 ounces. So, you know, basically half a thing. So $3, $4, and you get 2 out of it. So it's pretty cheap actually. And I got it at Whole Foods. It actually seems like a lot, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I might have not done enough last time. Go ahead and I'll chop up the carrot while I'm waiting. This recipe doesn't call for carrot, but every time I eat pad thai out, it always has carrots in it, so I like to do it. Some people peel their carrots. I just don't. I like to leave everything there. I think it's just another thing to do. I'd rather not do. And you can just saute everything at the same time if you really want. You're supposed to do it in stages. It's a little better too. And plus, if you do it in stages, it just kind of gives you time to do everything else. But it will go faster if you do it all together, if you're in a hurry. Yeah, not quite ready. So I'll scoot that aside. And this calls for 4 cups of broccoli. This might be a little less, but I've got the carrots, so that kind of makes up for it. I just do that. And that. There you go. think that's about ready. It got too hot last time I did a video, so I don't want that to happen. Okay. Yep. It sizzles when it drops, so that's what you want. Don't do it before. Okay, and I'll just start chopping up some of the other stuff. Let's see. And you're supposed to do some sort of knife smash garlic. I just don't like doing that. I just never caught on to that. I guess it's faster, but I just pick. I'm okay with just picking. Or you can smash it with your fingers a little bit. Alright. There's that. And I've got a garlic press. And I'll just leave that there. For when I need it. 4 cloves of garlic is what this recipe calls for. Sometimes I do less garlic because a lot of people just don't like garlic. And then it calls for 2 cups of scallions. I just get 1 bunch from Whole Foods and just use that. I don't ever even measure it. You know, it kind of cooks down a lot anyways, so. Alright, so that's chopped. And then it calls for 1 cup loosely packed cilantro. So I actually don't chop that, I just kind of grab it and throw it in there. But I'll go ahead and slice the limes. Leave those there. Some of these are for the sauce and some of them are just for garnish for several people or just to put on like afterwards. Alright, so I'll scoop some of this and we can start on the sauce, which I'll do there. Push those down. Yeah, it takes a while for water to get boiling anyway, so it's a good idea just to get the noodles going. Let's see. Alright. Okay, so now for the sauce. 2 tablespoons tomato paste. I got to where I just don't measure it. If you know what 2 tablespoons are, you do 1, 2, 2 tablespoons. And then you do 5 tablespoons soy sauce. A lot of our newer recipes call for tamari. It's basically the same thing, gluten-free soy sauce. Slightly bit more expensive, but only by $1 or so. You can use either one. So 5 tablespoons soy sauce. I don't measure it, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was probably a little more, but that's okay. And then 6 tablespoons light brown sugar. So that's kind of a lot of sugar, I think. So I just do 4 personally. Because I mean, once you start putting it, you're just like, wow, that is a ton of sugar. I'm not making candy. So I just do 4. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, yeah, that's a ton of sugar. And I guess once it's, split between 3 or 4 people, it's still like a tablespoon of brown sugar for each person or more. So you'll get plenty of sugar out of this. It'll be plenty sweet. Let's turn that down. Not getting too hot, are we? Nope. Alright, hopefully those will be done soon. And then, so we do 1/4 cup of lime juice. I do maybe a whole lime, 3/4 of a lime. Not that big of a deal. We can do a whole lime. I'll be all right. Those limes are different sizes and stuff, but it's not that important. Because I might have had a little bit more noodles anyways. Oh, this one is tough to squeeze. Alright, there you go. And then 2 tablespoons of sriracha. Sriracha is getting expensive. This one was only $5. I had to buy more this time. Some of the other ones were like $7 and $8. It lasts a while though, I guess. This recipe is generally pretty cheap to make. If your first time doing it, if you don't have anything, it's going to be like $35. But once you have all that stuff, all the fresh ingredients, just the carrots and stuff like that, and then the tofu, you're spending like $5 to $7 each time. And most of this stuff, like the sriracha, lasts for months. So still a pretty cheap recipe to make. And then 2 tablespoons white miso. This is the stuff that's the most expensive. This was like, I think $8, but it's the only recipe I use it for, so it lasts several months. So we do 2 tablespoons. Go. And then 1/4 of a cup of water. We put a lot of other stuff, so I just do like a splash. Just a splash of water. And then you've got your sauce. You just have to mix it up. It's not going to mix up completely smooth. You'll have little miso bits in there, but you just kind of do the best you can. I'll start it now and then I'll work on some other stuff and then get to it then. Kind of mash it and swirl it around. Yeah, I'll do it a little bit more later. Hopefully the tofu's getting close. Not really. I don't like my tofu to be real well done anyways. Just enough. Just a little while longer. And let's check on the noodles. Hopefully those are done. We're getting close. Oh, I turned them down. Let's see. Getting close. That's getting close. Okay. So the recipe asks you to make the sauce first, but I got this stuff going while I made the sauce. So we've made the sauce. This is a recipe you really can get memorized if you do it enough. And you'll probably want to do it enough. Okay, so my tofu is not real brown, but I feel like it's close enough to being done. Had a little bit of water in there. So she says put in a plate and wrap in aluminum foil. I actually have started just getting another pan. It's faster for me. And just putting it in the other pan. And then covering it. And then I'm actually just going to do the broccoli and carrots together. Not that big of a deal. These shouldn't take as long as the tofu. Some people actually will just microwave the, if you're somebody that has a microwave or uses a microwave, and they just have the, they kind of steam it and and then they'll saute it a little bit so the broccoli is a little softer, and I actually like doing that. But sometimes just to keep doing what I'm doing, I'll just stay like this. Usually I just stay like this, but microwaving it is another good option. Alright, just getting done. Yep, that's done. I'm just going to turn it down, so I'm going to use that eye. I guess I'll put that there. And one thing that I've started doing on this recipe, or I've done a few times at least, is do the just egg. Because I never ate pad thai before I was vegan. And so I never actually had it with egg. So once just egg came out, I was like, wow, I can actually have it with like basically eggs. So I've tried it before where I think when people actually do pad thai with real eggs, they break the egg and they like break it into it. And I tried that with this and it didn't work. It just kind of left a film over it. So I'm not going to do that. But just egg kind of does have to be timed just right or it gets overdone, and getting it to break into little bits in the pad thai is a little bit of a challenge that I've had before, so I'm just kind of trying it again this time. I don't want that to be too hot. Okay. So, not real sure how much to put, but I'm going to lean on the smaller amount so I don't do too much. That should be good. I used about not quite half the bottle. And I'm going to break it up in there and then kind of break it up once I get all the stuff together. Let's get this going. Mash this up just a little bit more. Okay. So yeah, this I'm about good with, honestly. Let's see. Put this down here. Yeah, I don't want the much because it's not as healthy that way. Not as tasty either, to me. Okay. So now we get to like where we're actually putting everything together. And so the recipe has me cook the sauce. So you lower the heat to medium, which I've already had it on medium. I think some of that stuff she has cooked on high heat. I guess it just cooks too fast for me that way. And every stove is a little bit different too. Okay. So lower the heat to medium. I'll do it just below medium, actually, because you cook the garlic and that cooks really fast. It says cook the garlic in oil for about 15 seconds and then add the scallions and cilantro. So personally, I've gotten to where I just do it all at the same time because it seems like that garlic, it just gets like burnt and cooks way, way, way too fast. So I put the scallions and garlic in there at the same time. And then it says 1 cup loosely packed cilantro. You know, that's kind of hard to measure. I just grab like a couple of handfuls, and I kind of overboard do it, to be honest with you. But it cooks down, so you're not gonna be mad about how much cilantro you put into it. Okay. So make sure that garlic doesn't get burnt. And it says just to let it go till it's withered. That happens pretty fast. So just a little minute longer. Still kind of stiff. Some of the scallions are still pretty stiff. Alright, now we're definitely good. So it says pour in half the sauce. There you go. Ooh, I want to turn it down because I don't want all that sauce to get cooked away. So pour in half the sauce. It says heat it through, and then it just says add the noodles. I want to go ahead and add the noodles before that sauce gets cooked away. So I got a lot of noodles there. There you go. Mix it all up. Now might be a good time, honestly, where I'm going to go ahead and put some of this egg in there and just start like mashing it up in there, because you kind of have to mash up some of the noodles anyways. I'm mixing it up, so I'm going to try it that way. Break it up a little bit. There you go. I'm gonna get those things real soon. And I might get a few globs, but I'm trying to break it up. It's breaking up. Yeah, should be good. Alright, now I think we add the vegetables and tofu. Now, a lot of restaurants, they don't even do vegetables. Like unless you specifically ask for them, it's just tofu. So it can be done that way as well, if you want to skip another step. So, add the noodles, then add the tofu and broccoli. And it's traditional to have bean sprouts. I can never find a package of bean sprouts that isn't just way too much. And it's a little bit expensive. They're a semi-expensive item to it. And I don't make this more than maybe once a month. Sometimes I go a long time without making it, so I just leave the bean sprouts out. They're important to a lot of people, but I don't care about bean sprouts. And sometimes I can't even find them anyways. So I leave that out. So add the vegetables, and see everything's kind of heating up in this anyways. And then add the sauce. Yep, add the remaining sauce. Yep, there you go. And this honestly ends up being better than most restaurants, because most restaurants just use like a packet. They just kind of have noodles and then pad thai sauce packet, and then just add whatever topping, and then they just roll with that. Unless you're at like a semi-expensive restaurant or a Thai restaurant that's really committed to being traditional. This is really better than most restaurants. All right, and then just let it heat for just a minute. I can honestly use this bowl, and it's got sauce in there too. So I'm going to use this bowl to eat out of. Let's get some of the sauce off the side. Well, I don't have to wash more dishes. Yeah, should be good. Yep. And then I add a little bit of cilantro for garnish. And I forget to do it, but I eventually bought some peanuts. You can add some peanuts as garnish too. For some reason I always forget to do it, but I'm not going to forget this time. Now that's another thing you can leave out if you want, or buy it when you already have everything else. Then I do peanuts as garnish. And you've got excellent pad thai with just egg. All right, thank you for watching. Anything else you want me to make? Hope you learned something. I learned something. Tell me what you think I could do better, or anything you would add or amend to vegan pad thai. And I'll see you again in the next video. Thanks. Bye.